Let's talk about all the sequences you cover in there.
Show up sequences, webinar invite sequences, welcome sequences, onboarding sequences, promo sequences, upsell, book a call, application sequences.
Yeah, re-engagement, was that in there?
Re-engagement for sure. Yeah, re-engagement and list scrubbing. Those are two separate things.
Yeah, I remember really liking those two, and those being like some of the first things I implemented for my own business is to get it going on automation.
Everybody, if you like don't really know what you're doing with email marketing, like you probably need to scrub your list. And anyway, it's just a really important part of having a healthy deliverability is keeping your list scrubbed.
Let's nerd out on sequences a little bit. Which one's your favorite one to write? Like which one has like been your bread and butter over the years?
Promo sequences for sure, because they're directly tied to a sale. My most favorite is my weekly nurture emails. Like that's my most favorite.
Okay.
Because that's where I have the most flexibility. I feel like I can do whatever I want. It's like a playground. But after that, like I love welcome sequences because they have the most story. Promo sequences, it's just like so to write an email and see sales come in is just such a good feeling. And when I'm writing a promo sequence and like I'm seeing it pay off, I'm like, great. This is the product of all of that past work.
Right now, your nurture weekly emails, like they kind of seem a little bit like all over the place, but like, what is your strategy with that? Like, how do you know if these emails are effective and like moving the needle for you?
There's a few ways that I gauge how effective they are. I mean, really, you don't know if your nurturing is effective until you put an offer in front of people. And do they buy it? If they don't buy it, what you're doing is not working. I also know that my marketing is working based on the level of engagement. So are people replying? Do they identify with the topics that I'm talking about, which they do? Yes, thank you for saying this. I needed to hear this today. Here's my story. And also, like, I look at who those people are. Like, oh, they're running similar businesses to mine. They're struggling with similar problems. They've been through similar programs. They have similar indoctrination. Like, that's really how I know that it's effective. And if you are a solopreneur, like, you really should be the one reading those email replies. Like, even just knowing, like, I sent this email and it got 50 replies, like, wow, you hit on something really relevant. I sent this other email and it didn't get any replies, or it got 10. That is, I would say, my primary, like, is it working? And then the sales, like in terms of my strategy, like one thing I'm doing with my newsletters is I'll add like a text box at the top or something at the bottom and just say, hey, like, pre-selling if you want to put down a deposit and reserve your spot. Like really light, you know, letting people know it's coming. If they already know they want it, they can get it. It also is strategic in that people can skip it because it's obviously promotional and it doesn't take away from the momentum of the story. If you pause in the middle of the story or segue to a weird time, like, oh, I'm offering this thing, it kind of takes away from the email. And what I was taught to do, what used to be done, a lot of people still do this with promos, is like you would put the opt-out at the bottom of the email saying like, click here if you don't want to get any more emails about it. But the thing is, like, those people are not reading the email all the way to the bottom, let alone the fine print at the very end. So putting that at the top, like, it does two jobs for me. It tells people what's coming, but it also gives people a chance to turn those promo emails off. And I save a lot of subscribers.
Well, you're so good at making your stories very personal and bingeable, you know? So A, how do you do that? And B, how can we bring a piece of that back over to the sequences?
Yeah, I think that's why you can't just do one or the other. Like, you do have to do both. Like, nurturing is relationship building. Nurturing is where you get to know me and my philosophy of email marketing and online business. And when you are writing promo emails, like, that's where you talk about the product. You have to actually lean into like benefits and features and what's included. And there are some elements of story, but in promo emails, like, I will tell stories about my customers way more than I tell stories about myself. In promo emails, I use more bullet lists and formatting. One thing that I think is really important for any business owner, any business, especially online business, because there's so much writing, is to have a style sheet of like the types of words that you use. It can even include like how you use grammar and punctuation. Like that is all style and is deliberate and carries through to all of your emails. Like I might reference like something funny about myself in passing in a promo email that I told a story about in my nurture email. Like they have to work together. And but that's why we nurture people, so that like by the time the promo goes out, they're like ready. They know whether or not they want to work with you. Now they just need to learn if the product is what they need.
Oh my gosh, that's good. Can you give me another example of a style for you, just so my DMAs can hear this, see this, and then start creating this for their clients if they don't have one already?
My style sheet has things like Tarzan prefers M dashes instead of N dashes. So that's more of a punctuation thing, but this can actually also be connected to your personal or your business values around inclusion and accessibility, like things like gender too. Like, how do you talk about gender? There are a lot of default assumptions built into our writing. Like, so, that's something on a style sheet too. It should indicate who you serve. And this is not so much a style sheet thing, but also like there could be topics that you come back to and talk about, like, core stories, like themes you come back to. Like, that's not a style sheet thing, but it is good to have somewhere in terms of like, these are the things that are important. And those things also can bring some of that personality into the promo sequence without actually doing a lot of storytelling.
So I have a couple specific email questions for you that I just like love to hear what other copywriters say. So first, what is like the must-have, like Tarzan Kay's must-have email for the promo sequence?
Yeah, so there's two actually. The first is who is it for, who is it not for? And then the second one is an FAQ. What people often have done in the past with it, which I've seen with that email, and I do not like this, I think it's very coercive. It's like, you are serious about growing your business. You are ready to invest in yourself and up level your whatever. Things that are like aspirational and people want to identify with. They're like, or more specifically, they don't want to be that person who is not serious about their business. Like, well, I am serious, so I better buy this thing. Otherwise, like, if I don't click on this thing, it means I'm not serious. And like, what if I am not serious? Like, am I not serious? Like, maybe I'm not a real, like, and then I just have to like click the buy button to like make this uncomfortable feeling go away. Yeah. So this is not that.
Okay.
And the more specific you can be about who it will work for and who it will not work for, well, like, that is honesty and transparency in marketing. And that is the opposite of coercion.
Like, I'm dying to know, are you like writing things on the fly? Are you planned out? What does it look like?
Oh, I am a big planner, and I do talk to my students about this a lot. And I do get consistent feedback from them saying, like, when they do it this way, it makes their launches so much less stressful. So when I was doing more highly advanced, highly technical launches, like, I would start writing the emails probably 2 months out, and I would start with webinar invitations. I would move on to webinar show up emails, and then I would do the promo emails. I do leave gaps so that, like, even now for promos, like, I write all of my promo emails about a week in advance, but I also leave a few gaps so that I can address things that are coming up. And that's really important in launches, because you'll be like, oh man, everybody's asking about this, or like they're not understanding that this thing is included. So you definitely want to have space to address things in the moment, but giving yourself lots of time. Like, my hope is that if you're doing cart open, cart close model, that all of the emails are written, uploaded, and scheduled like at least a week before they need to go out. And then when you're actually in promotional phase, like, you can focus on like talking to people, those things that really make a big difference. And with my newsletter, I have a day that I write my newsletter. So the email that people will get next week I will be writing the previous week on Wednesday. So I write it on Wednesday, it goes out the following Tuesday.
Can you just speak to somebody who is starting off in copywriting? Like, what's your best advice right now to get better at copywriting? And
probably the most important thing you can do for yourself is just to write consistently. And I think a weekly email is a great way to do that. It's a great way to develop a body of work and figure out the sorts of things you like to talk about, the sorts of things people want to hear about. And it doesn't matter if there's only 5 people reading them, like that's 5 people and you're practicing. But really, like consistency, whatever it is, like the best writers, like the writers you love the most, like they write. That's how they got better at it, by writing.
oh my God, I loved it.